morning to one and all to today's Agencies Community Connect webinar. In today's webinar, we have got a very special guest who is Ivan Monte. He is the managing director of Big Leap. And he is joining us from Canada, where it is evening now, and the weather is quite opposite to where I am in Sydney currently. So I really appreciate your time today, Ivan. And also, um, how is the weather in Canada today?
Oh, it's today has been quite warm. It's actually -5 degrees.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. I would have loved to be there.
Oh no, I would like to trade places with you. I want to be in Australia now.
Yeah, of course. And with the Australian borders opening up, the students coming back, I think we recently posted on agency's social media channel as well that more than 56,000 students have arrived in Australia since November. So this is the best time for you if you are coming here to study as a student, if you are
hmm
listening to this episode, or even as an agent, it's a good time for you to actually start preparing yourselves for that incoming students because now the borders are open, everything is going to be open soon. But today's topic is very special. As you can see, we are trying to discuss about Canada and how can education agents in Canada better prepare themselves for their clients. So how can they better prepare their clients in the coming days? That's the main question. And since Ivan is already in Canada, we thought of calling him so that he can share his experience with other agents, with people who want to enter into this business. So probably, the first question, Ivan, would definitely be, what should education agents prepare the students for studying in Canada on the basis of your experience there?
Thank you for that question, Rob. I think one of the key things that I've learned is that education agents should prepare their clients, most especially about the Canadian weather. The winter here is quite harsh. I think for us Australians, we've been used to winters of just low one digits. But and in back in Melbourne, if we have a temperature of like 1 degree, it's a big deal already. Here, it's still very warm. So when I got here in late November, I think we were already in the low negatives. Yeah, and I think there are some students who to take this as a big shock, especially for our market. So we primarily deal with Filipino students, and the Philippine weather is pretty much like India, Nepal. It's quite humid, so it's quite a shock to the system. So that's one thing I reckon that they really have to be prepared of. And I think that's one thing that education agents can better prepare their clients with. So with that comes the proper gear. So they should have the right boots. They should, a light jacket will not work here. They should have thick jackets. They should have parkas. They should have gloves, toques. A toque is what we call in Canada, in Australia, beanie. Um, yeah, I reckon that's one thing that the education agents should really prepare their students for, and then with work as well. I think a lot of students think that they can come to another country, be a student, work the required or the maximum number of hours on on a job that is very light. So of course, as part of being a student, you can either take a job in retail, but at the same time, you can also have jobs in warehousing, in cleaning. So there are some students who are a bit shocked with the stark difference of their work back in their home country versus the work that they are going to be doing here. So I think that's those are the top two things that they have, or my fellow education agents can better prepare their clients with.
Absolutely, and I think Canadian weather is extremely harsh as per what I've also heard, and that's something which definitely it's important from a student's perspective as well, because if a student is coming from a country which is having a moderate temperature to a
Yeah,
country which is having extremely harsh weather all the time, you might get excited. People are excited that we are going to see a lot of snow, but after a time, also it can be a bit irritating for you. And I'm sure
yeah, yeah,
Ivan has
definitely.
been staying there for so long, so that's why he's in a condition to tell you that, isn't it, Ivan?
Yeah, I've been here since the latter part of November, and initially I myself was very excited with snow because from in Victoria we have to travel like 3 hours to get to Mount Buller to be able to see snow, but here it's just it's everywhere now. And in my case, I'm based in Toronto, and I feel that it's really cold already. I can't just imagine students who are based in Winnipeg or Nova Scotia or Prince Edward Island. I'm sure they're having a tougher time.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you have to say in this regard, Ivan? Because forming a network is obviously important in any country when you go and start a new business. How do you see this as an important element in this case? So, how important it is for the agents to build a good network
Hmm.
in order to expand their business and build their community in a new country like Canada?
Hmm. Oh, it's networking is very, very important in this industry. You don't just network with education providers. You also have to network with allied service providers. So that will include accommodation providers. That may include working with banks. That may include working with recruitment agencies. That will also include working with regulated Canadian immigration consultants and other education agencies as well. So you can't just look at your agency as an island, because you may know one thing, and you may miss other things if you don't work with other agents as well. So it's good to have this good vibes within the community, and then so that you keep yourself well informed. And the another important thing, as I've mentioned earlier, is that you work with providers of allied services, because that's one way of us education agents to help our students settle well here in Canada. So a lot of students might, they might come here, and they might be thinking about, oh, how can I find a job? If you have a good network of recruitment agencies, then that will be a big help for your students.
Absolutely. And I think few days back in the last Community Connect webinar we had with Kumar
Mhm,
Arja, he's from Opportunities Australia. And I think I asked him the same question where he said that networking is so important in Australia as well,
mhm,
where actually the students can be connected to recruitment agencies when they come to a new country. And because these education agents generally have good tie-ups already in the country, so
mhm.
they can also play a role in connecting the students to the right people. And what it can do is it can obviously personalize your connection with the agent, and he or she will want to come back to you all the time.
Yes, that's
So
very true.
legal rules and documentation that the education and migration agents need to be aware of.
I think for Canada, education agents should be aware that the Canadian government is very much strict when it comes to study permit applications. The Canadian government really advocates that these applications be done by regulated Canadian immigration consultants. It's a different story in Australia, the wherein Mara has just the authority within Australia. In the case of Canada, they're actually trying to go outside of Canada and trying to make sure that they remind education agents offshore, like in my case in the Philippines, that they should just focus on getting students the right course, the right education provider, and leave it to the RCIC to process the visa application. So that's one thing. But of course, if you want to set up a business here in Canada, it's that's another requirement for you. In Canada, when you set up a company, you have to have at least one director as a permanent resident or citizen. So I reckon it's easier for us education agents to base our agencies offshore if we want to operate in Canada. It's a bit tricky in this case.
And any kind of documents or documentation process that you feel they will be going through or they should take care of. So from an agent's point of view, I'm talking, and
Mhm.
also I'm talking from how can they be guiding the clients as well. So both from the agent's point of view, are there any documentation when they're setting up their business, and also when
Mhm.
they are any new student is coming, is there any documents that you think they should be aware of?
I think it's almost the same as what we have in Australia. Well, setting up a business wise, I think it's really important for an agency to come up with a business plan and not just do it right off the bat or top of the head. It's good to have everything documented because that will actually spell a lot with how you service your clients. You can't just approach clients and say that you're operating an agency because then will not be able to think about how to better service your clients. So that's on the company side. So business plan, having a business plan is key. And then when it comes to processing study permits, the big difference in processing study permits in Canada is that having evidence of financial capacity for students is a big requirement. So unlike in Canada, in Australia, wherein student visa applicants can apply for the visa without any evidence of financial capacity. In Canada, they actually require at least 10,000 Canadian dollars for the student to have in their account or their sponsor's account. They also highly recommend their students to have a GIC, which is like an investment in a local bank here. So that will help in the student study permit application.
And also, Ivan, do you think that whenever students are going to a new country, as you pointed out in the beginning, that they
Mhm.
are facing a harsh weather, they are facing a new environment, do you think that students can also be prepared on the new way of living in a new country? And I think that's the same for any country. But for Canada as well, can education agents take this as a priority that when a student is leaving from their country, they are prepared on some of the things of, okay, what are you going to face in terms of the weather? What are you going to face in terms of the clothing? What are you going to face in terms of if you want to meet more people from your country, how can you network with people from different
Mhm.
countries? And all those things.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. In our case, we actually do a pre-departure orientation seminar wherein we really educate our clients that this is how it is living in Canada. We also make sure that they are part of our GTE statement creation process. So they have to create their own GTE statement, which is a requirement by our partner RCICs. And at the same time, we as an education agent, we try to help our clients come up with their genuine temporary entrant statement. And during that process, we actually help them research more about Canada, about their education provider, about what they can do in Canada, and what they can get out of their education here.
Absolutely. And also in terms of connecting with the, just coming back to the same question when we talked about networking.
Mm-hmm.
In Australia, how important it is for an education agent to also get connected to different stakeholders, including universities, students, um, skilled assessment authorities,
Mm-hmm.
also other agents, other education agents, because if you don't have a good network within with other agents as well, super agents, sub agents who are also referring you students, it can be
Mm-hmm.
difficult for you to expand in a new country. And I think, do you think that's a good tactic for you to start building your business in a new country like Canada?
Yeah, definitely. As I have said earlier, networking is really key into growing your business. Because as a newcomer into the arena, it's good to have super agents, because super agents can help you grow your business. They can act as mentors. They can give you advice on how to move forward with your business. What key things to take note of. They would normally know the tips and tricks of the business. And as I have said also earlier, it would be good that you are able to tap with other agents as well, because at the end of the day, we are all in this together. It's a big industry, and it's good that we all work together collaboratively, because at the end of the
Absolutely.
day, we are here to help our clients.
Absolutely, and I think that's why these days we don't talk about competition. We also talk about a word which combines competition and collaboration
Mm-hmm.
together, so that you are having a healthy competition, but you are still collaborating with each other, so that you can help out. Because if you are going together, then obviously things will be easier for you to understand from others' experiences. Like you are sharing your experience, some other client can share their experience. And if other agents who are still in Australia or who are still targeting UK and they are trying to understand how to get into Canada, they listen to you, so they will understand, and they can take help from your experience, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very true. That's one way for us to like learn.
Yeah, and when you learn new things, and then only you can expand fast, right? Have you
Correct.
been? Uh, how did you first expand to Canada? If you want to answer that, because I think that can be a story which a lot of people would want to know, how you expand into Canada and how you move from Australia to Canada.
Yeah, in our case, as an agency, we've been highly focused in the Australian market, but of course, with the pandemic situation, the Canadian borders have closed, and we have to pivot as a business. We have set our sights to Canada for the longest time, and we never really did any action towards that. We might have missed like a year's opportunity because we were not agile enough. But then it's better to be late than to never be in the business at all. So in my case, I was just the same. I networked with other agents, and then they pointed me to another RCIC whom I've been partnering with for more than a year already, and together we've been servicing our clients in Canada.
That's really great, Ivan. So before we end today's webinar, are there any top two or three things which you would highlight or would want to end the session with, both for the students and for the agents, that they can
Mhm.
take away from this particular webinar?
Yeah, I reckon I will just end this a webinar with two things. One would be for agents, and one would be for students. So for education agents, I think at the end of the day, we are here for our students, and the best way for us to be able to gauge that we are doing a really good job as an agent is that when we start treating our clients as part of our family. And then for the students, they really have to make sure that they research well what they are going into. Moving from your own country to a country like Canada is not an easy thing. It's a big investment on your part, your parents, and your family. So make sure that you don't waste that opportunity. Make good use of it. Plan for the next year and the years ahead.
Yeah, and also from a student's perspective, is that the same thing that you would recommend?
Yeah, for the students, they can't just think about their journey in Canada on a semester by semester basis. They have to make sure that once they start their journey, they have to have a goal in place so that every day, whenever they have difficulties with their assignments, their assessments, their classes, they just have to think of why they're here in Canada. They have to think of what their goals are and slowly strive to reach that goal.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ivan, for joining us in today's Community Connect webinar. I think you shared some
My
really
pleasure.
useful tips. You shared some really useful tips for both the education agents and the students who want to come to Canada in the coming future, especially in 2022 when everything is open up. And we also hope that the international education sector continues to grow as it has been growing in the last 2 or 3 months after the borders have opened up in most of the countries, also in Australia. So that the sector can grow and all the stakeholders in this sector can continue growing. Anything before we end today's podcast or webinar?
Well, I would just like to thank agencies for giving me this platform to help other agents and to advocate for our students as well.
Absolutely. And, I should definitely ask you one question before we end is how do you think now a system like agencies can actually help an education agent during this time when they see a lot of new people coming into the market? How important it is for them to have a system so that they can manage and track everything?
I reckon doing business without a system is like going into your day without a plan. So a system like agencies really helps us organize the business. It helps us keep track of our deliverables. It helps us keep track of our students and clients' records. Agencies as a system has been very helpful for us as an agency who have several offices and still continuing to grow. Our staff in the Philippines can see whatever notes we have in Canada, and so are our staff in Australia. They can see the our notes here in Canada. So it's a one way of helping us really organize the business, and an organized business is a business that can really help our clients.
Absolutely. And I think that's why we always want to have a system which can properly track the leads and also help us manage all our client
Mhm.
information at one place. Because
Yeah,
if your client information is lost and you're not able to track it properly, it might get difficult for you.
that
But
is
thank you
very
so
true.
much. Thank you so much, Ivan. I really appreciate all your insightful answers, which I'm sure the agents and students are going to take forward. And I look forward to seeing you in another session with us. But till then, thank you so much. And thank you so much to everyone who might be listening to us. Have a
Always
great day.
welcome. You too. Bye.